Picture, Ma Yong-jin, aka Brother Ma, discussing the finer points of customer service with the hostel manager. Ma Yong-jin's unsolicited advice interrupts the hostel manager's light stomping and kicking of Xiao Jinbei, Ma's business partner and longtime friend. I don't know about you, but this type of wake-up call leaves much to be desired. Brother Ma explains Business 101, probably from his time in community college, but the hostel manager is not buying Ma's business acumen. He reminds Brother Ma that the failure rate of two-bit country boy gangsters with big dreams is in the high 90s. The manager adds that Brother Ma's stupid hopes of attaining generational wealth will not happen in Shanghai's hard-knock streets. Ma, in anger, puts his hands on the hostel manager. Luckily, other hostel residents step in and stop the senior citizen from being roughed up. Xiao convinces Ma to ignore the mean manager as they exit the hostel to the streets. Our two friends have a stronghold on the horse carriage, hand-washing market. Hey, you've got to start somewhere. Carriage washing is a rough business, with slim margins. Ma and Xian's first customer uses a whip. Instead of verbalizing their choices, Brother Ma manages to pique their interest with a comment that he agrees he is a nobody right now, but he plans to be more than a cab driver. This guy has a super clean white button-up blazer, with matching black pants. He is clearly a chauffeur, and chauffeurs hate it when you call them cab drivers. They make fun of Ma Yong's dreams and, after a good laugh, decide to give him their business. Ma does not like hazing, so he tempts them into a fight. Ma warns them before giving them a proper beating. His fighting skills are superior to the chauffeurs. His fighting skills are superior to the chauffeurs. Boss Tan Z is standing in the background, smoking a cigarette through a filter. He seems unfazed by his men receiving the worst end of a humiliating thrashing. It's a dog-eat-dog world in Shanghai indeed. Boss Tan gets much respect from Xian with a bow and excited high-pitched greeting, but he is fixated on Ma. Boss Tan gives Brother Ma some surface advice on anger management and how money works. He believes that Ma needs to change his mindset to make money. Tan tempts Ma, first with $1, then with his watch. Having had enough of the pleasantries, they gauge each other the only way two gangsters in Shanghai know how to. With a light spurring session, Boss Tan leaves on his high-end luxury cart, slightly impressed. Ma Yong-jin is super impressed. Brother Ma promises himself the next time he sees Tan, it will be as equals. Xiao has a brilliant idea to promote the neighborhood music talent with his last 20 cents. When they arrive at the spot, it's chaotic. The two find themselves in the middle of a war zone. Taking charge of this campaign is Li Kasun. He is ranked 4th of the 4 champions, and Chang Chin Fei is ranked 3rd. These two champions belong to a gang violently taking over Ma's and Zhao's favorite hangout. Li Kasun is dealing out his death stabs too casually for Ma's taste while making snarky remarks. Brother Ma calls him out, and as a champion, Li Kasun cannot let that level of disrespect go unchallenged. Kasun unleashes his stabbing tactics on Ma and fails horribly. Ma Yongjin's kung fu is too strong. Meanwhile, inside the Yiyunchen tea house, the #1 champion, Fang Aijian, puts his best foot forward to impress the only woman artist in town, Li Qing. Li Qing can smell Fang's foul game and isn't buying any of it. The first champion is interrupted by one of his underlings who asks for help with Brother Ma outside. Unfortunately, the 4th champion, Chang, wrote a check Fang could not cash. Fang, realizing he cannot beat Ma, asks Brother Ma to identify himself. Yongjin views the champions as weak bullies and treats them with contempt. He answers them confidently, "My name is Ma Yongjin, and I live where I like, be it hotels or on the open road." Fang tells his underlings and the other two champions to walk away. Their surrender is sad. Very sad. They had just taken over the tea house and Fang was about to force Li Qing to sing. How quickly they scamper, with their tails between their legs, and to make it worse, because of a 2-bit punk. As for Yongjin, he has just leveled up. Xiao decides to stay on his original task to have a good time, and they enter the tea house. The frightened patrons are looking at Ma and Xiao in astonishment. Nobody has ever stood up against one champion and lived. He stood up to 3 champions without breaking a sweat. There is a new sheriff in town, and he brings a smile to Jin's face. Boss Tan's surviving men attempt to recruit Brother Ma with the usual money and women. Ma quickly opts out as he plans to be an entrepreneur. He sticks to his dreams of becoming a boss. Outside, the champions lament how easily they lost and lick their wounds as they prepare to meet their boss and head of the gang, Boss Yang Showing. Boss Yang had given them the green light to take over Tan's territory, and here they were, presenting themselves, broken and empty-handed. If Boss Yang is disappointed in his champions, he hides it well, or he is occupied with his big plans. Yang plans to muscle in on Boss Tan's opium trade and advises his champions to prepare themselves. In the meantime, he delegates them to recruit Ma Yongjin, as having an ally is better than a vicious enemy. Champion Chang visits Brother Ma with an offer of employment. He throws shade on Boss Tan's men and operation, thinking it would incentivize Ma to join them. No luck for Chang as Brother Ma rejects Boss Yang's offer. The hostel manager is impressed by Ma's ability to stand up to Yang's champion. He quickly estimates that Brother Ma is going places and going quickly. The manager did not need any more convincing to offer Brother Ma the penthouse suite on credit. Some days later, Li Kashun is running the Fight the Large European scam. You can go against an over 7-foot, 300-pound beast from the Western world for an admission fee of 20 cents. Knock the monstrosity down and win $20. Many try and fail with grave injuries, some of them lose their teeth. Then our boy steps up. Like the others, he pays the entry fee, removes his shirt, and gets to work. Brother Ma offers the Westerner a challenge. The crowd goes crazy. The big white, the sizable European man is a sour loser and wants to keep fighting after being knocked off the stage. Ma Yongjin ends up breaking the big man's leg. I wonder if expats in Shanghai were eligible for workers' comp in those times. Champion Li and his men make another go of Brother Ma, but Li loses. Again. Yongjin messes with the fourth champion and dislocates his left arm, as Champion Li coils in pain and nurses his arm. Brother Ma makes fun of him. An invincible Ma Yongjin walks away with the prize money. His first purchase item is a cigarette filter like the one he saw Boss Tan use earlier during his hand-washing carriage business days. Those days seem so far away. Ma Yongjin arrives at the tea house, puffing on a cigarette through his newly acquired filter. One of the busboy tells him that the cashier is coming and calls him Boss Ma. Yongjin is surprised. Boss Ma. It does have a ring to it. He likes it. Ma Yongjin's dreams are becoming a reality. The cashier informs Yongjin that none of the two bosses, Boss Yang and Boss Tan, can claim the protection money. Boss Yang could not collect after Ma beat 3 of the 4 champions, and Tan refused to take it because of some honor code. Xiao arrives with the rest of the men from the hostel, who now consider themselves part of Boss Ma's gang. One of Boss Tan's men, who chose not to report back to his leader, claims that Boss Ma's new gang is legit and has every right to the protection loot, and more. There was an implicit argument that he would do all the administration work of collecting and dispersing for a fee. Boss Ma gets all his men excited as he buys everyone rounds of drinks and food. One of Boss Tan's former members beckons Miss Chin to sing a celebratory song for Ma's first day as boss. Miss Chin has a pouty look on her face. She is disappointed at Ma's decision to partake in the protection money racket. She thought Yongjin would be a stand-up guy, a hero even. By accepting the protection money, he is just like the other gangsters. Miss Chin is not one to hide her feelings. Tan's men try to check her attitude, but Boss Ma has a soft spot for Miss Ching, who brought everyone down with her tears and refusal to sing a cheerful song. Boss Ma lets her go and tells his boys to drink with him, keep the good times rolling. Meanwhile, in Boss Yang's lair, Chang is fixing Champion Li's dislocated arm. I thought Boss Ma told Li to see a doctor, and he could afford proper treatment with all the money he made from the Fight a European scheme. I suppose Chang will do it in a pinch. Boss Yang's only comment on the losses Ma has handed to his champions is that he is concerned it will ruin his reputation. Chang informs his boss, Yang, that Ma is now a boss and is collecting protection money from the tea house. Chang fears that Brother Ma will garner too much power as men join his gang. Yang views Ma's meteoric rise with little concern. He sees Yongjin as Boss Tan's scheme to take him down. He believes that, in the end, Ma is Boss Tan's pawn. Yang still plans on getting in on the opium trade. Champion Fong relays his update from one of his spies about Boss Tan's opium shipment. It will arrive in 2 months. Word is, Boss Tan has a consignment of samples due to him in 20 days. The next time we see Xiao, he is in a white button-up jacket and black pants. He is picking up a high-end, fully customized carriage for none other than Boss Ma. Xiao looks very official. Ma and his men head to the tea house for a meeting. For a minute, Boss Ma is distracted as he looks for Li Qing, the famous lady singer. She's been MIA for the past few days. Ma's men volunteer to look for him and bring him back, but Ma declines. Boss Ma focuses on their looming problem: money is getting tight. The income from protection money has gone down significantly. Boss Ma fears they will be poor again unless they get a new income stream soon. The men give their boss the lay of the land. East of Yunchu, Ma's base of operation, is Tan Si's territory, where Boss Tan has several gambling dens. Ma Yongjin respects Boss Tan too much to encroach on his territory. To the west is the Four Champions territory. I assume nothing is going on in the north and the south. The men suggest one least protected area with a casino and a brothel, a turnkey space waiting for someone with the guts to take over. Boss Ma inquires why the terrace is under low protection. The men tell him a story of Iron Fist Chen, who attempted to take over the terrace from the champions and failed. He was killed on the streets. Ma Yongjin sees Chung Fu Terrace as an opportunity to expand his market and diversify his portfolio. Unfortunately, his men are too cowardly to help him with his campaign. Believing in his kung fu and holding on to his ambition, he decides to go by himself, a one-person army. He gives his men some advice: if a man is satisfied with what he's got, it's a certainty he will not keep it for long. Give this man a TED Talk. He's got some pearls of wisdom. He jumps onto his custom carriage and has Xiao take him to Chung Fu Terrace. Ma Yongjin's play is dangerous. Boss Ma has a bonding moment when he asks Xiao to sell the carriage and move away from Shanghai if his plan fails. Xiao sincerely attempts to help, and Ma Yongjin is too much of a lone wolf to risk his friend's life. Business is booming on Chung Fu Terrace. Prostitution and gambling are at peak levels. Boss Ma enters a casino and asks to see the boss of the establishment. Behold! It's Mr. Chang. As soon as Chang sees Ma Yongjin, he orders one of his men to call for backup. Keeping his cool, Chang sits next to Ma. Boss Ma wastes no time with small talk. He tells Chang that Chung Fu is on the outskirts of Boss Yang's territory, a piece that would be of little consequence to Yang but a great deal for him. Mr. Chang laughs at Ma Yongjin's audacity. Chang agrees with Boss Ma that the place is small. He indulges Ma's request but asks them to do the fighting outside to minimize the destruction of property. Chang's men, armed with hatchets, file out. Chang follows, Ma's last. Ma sizes them as they prepare to clash. The champion and his men attempt to chop Boss Ma down. Chang does a poor job of hitting Boss Ma. Two of Boss Yang's unarmed men see the writing on the wall and escape the fight. Xiao arrives not a moment too soon with a group of Ma Yongjin's men. Finally, Boss Ma has backup. The two men who fled the fighting on Chung Fu Terrace stand in front of Yang to give a first-hand report of Ma's audacity. Boss Yang is surprised that Ma Yongjin would encroach on his territory. He orders Fan, his first champion, to have them surrender Chung Fu Terrace. He still believes in his plan. He views Tan as the bigger enemy. Once they have eliminated Boss Tan, taking care of a small-timer like Ma Yongjin will be child's play. Chang has taken another big L with Fan's decision to surrender unconditionally. He is dumbfounded and confused, but still must follow orders. Boss Ma is the victor, and to the victor goes the spoils. Food, booze, and women. Boss Ma and his men satiate themselves. It's a good time indeed. Boss Ma pines for Li Qing. Remember her? She is the lounge singer from the Yun Chun tea house. Through his, whiskey glasses, he sees one of the, companion girls as Li Qing. It is with a Li Qing's look-like that Ma Yongjin chooses to console himself. Meanwhile, in Boss Yang's lair, Fast Spy reports on Boss Tan's plans to meet with an opium seller. The deal is set. They have confirmed the time and place. Boss Yang is thinking of getting rid of one half of that equation to force the seller to come to him. They set up the ambush. Champion Fast Spy leaps and stabs the unsuspecting Tan Zi. Despite the gashing wound, Tan kills most of Boss Yang's men. The champions know Tan will not survive. So they run off. There is no need to wait around. Hours later, Brother Ma leaves the brothel refreshed. He wants to talk to Tan and has Xiao take him where he had heard Tan will be heading earlier. They are shocked to find Boss Tan and his men dead in the streets. There are lots of bodies. I mean, they killed the chauffeur. Wow. That's a new low. Who does that? Boss Yang and his champions, that's who. Brother Ma is devastated by Tan Si's death. He looked up to him. A storm of rage is brewing in him. The type of rage that can only be squelched by the spilling of blood. In Boss Yang's camp, the champions celebrate the perfect execution of Yang's plan. With Tan dead, the champions took over all his outfits, and I don't mean his clothes. Fan worries that some of Tan's men will jump ship to Boss Ma's side. The first champion, Fast's apprehensions are lessened when Boss Yang tells him of another ambush with Ma Yongjing's name all over it. Yang decides to call a meeting with Boss Ma, and he promises to come along. He says that with a sinister laugh because he knows his champions are itching for another round with Ma Yongjin. The meeting is set to take place at a neutral location, Chinligo Tea House. Some of Boss Ma's men smell the rot in Yang's invitation and warn their boss. Ma lies to them that he believes Boss Yang is a man of integrity and that a meeting with him will give Ma more street cred. His actual plan is to get close enough to avenge the death of his hero. Boss Ma has another heart-to-heart with his best friend, Xiao. He believes Xiao is too honest and too good-hearted to survive in Shanghai. Ma Yongjin asks his friend to consider what happened to Tan's chauffeur as a cautionary tale. Ma Yongjin offers him a retirement package. Ma wants his best friend to move far away from the city, buy a piece of land, settle down, and maybe marry, and have some children. Xiao, this time agrees and promises to follow his best friend's wishes. The next day, sometime later, Yang and his bodyguard and the first champion, Lupu, stroll into Chinligo Tea House. Not surprising. Everyone knows Boss Yang and pays their respects. Without breaking a stride, Yang heads for the VIP section. The owner rushes to attend to Yang. Boss Yang quickly tells the owner that he should allow his men in and not to worry about anything else. The owner makes a hastened bow and wears a fierce smile as he complies. Not long the rest of Yang's champions and what looks like Yang's entire crew waltz into the tea house. Champion Li Kashun goes out of his way to threaten the owner of the Chinligo with his knife. At least he has healed from the wound he got when fighting Ma. Their ambush is simple. Close out the tea house, remove all the patrons and workers and swap them with Yang's men. Boss Yang's men will pretend they are regulars and jump on our friend, Brother Ma. Yang makes small talk and even compliments Ma Yongjin. Hot-blooded Ma is not able to contain himself. He states the purpose of accepting the meeting and pounces. Unfortunately for Boss Ma, Chang strikes with a hatchet he was hiding in a basket of peanuts. Ma Yongjin gets the worst end of the exchange. Chang drives the hatchet deep into Ma's midsection. The rest of Yang's men rise, hatchets in hand, and surround Boss Ma. The mayhem begins, slashing and cutting, punching and kicking. Boss Ma goes berserk and finds the fortitude to defend himself. With a hatchet under his ribs, Ma opens a can of kung fu whoop-ass like one he has never unleashed before. Lupu, the champion who had never fought Ma before, didn't know what hit him. It was not long before Ma dispensed of him with a barrage of punches that sent him over the railing to the floor. Next is champion Li Kashun. Ma is losing steam. Li Kashun attempts an attack and pays for his weak kung fu with his life. Everybody takes a pause while Ma looks at the mountain of men he will have to go through. Fa wastes no time kicking Ma down the flight of stairs to the first floor. Chang tries to reason with Ma, but it is in vain. Ma Yongjin repays Chang with interest. Only one of Boss Yang's champions remains when Ma's men, who were ordered not to enter the tea house, gather outside and chant their boss's name. In fear of a Russian assault, Yang diverts some of his men to go outside. The first group of Yang's men are decimated, forcing Yang to send a second consignment. With less of Boss Yang's men around him, Ma Yongjin has some breathing room. He finishes off Champion Chang, with a few more underlings followed by Champion Fa. Brother Ma has lost a lot of blood. It's a miracle he's still breathing. Champion Fa gets it worse of all the champions. He is no more. Boss Ma attempts to crawl up the stairs as he can barely stand. Ma musters the strength to finish off the few more men brave enough to dare attack him. Outside, both gangs take terrible losses, with Boss Ma's men having a slight advantage. Inside the tea house, Yang's gang has dwindled down to 2 men. Ma Yongjin is at death's door. Boss Yang and his surviving 2 men watch in amazement as Ma struggles and squirms in his blood-drenched pants. One of the men comments that Ma will not make it up the stairs while signaling a sigh of relief to his leader. The goon's comment invigorates Brother Ma, giving him an idea. It is time to knock Boss Yang down to his level. Ma rams the battered load-bearing wooden pillar that held up the second floor. The fall has Yang pinned down under heavy wooden rubble. Boss Yang's 2 men are no match for Ma. Boss Ma makes quick work of the duo. Ma Yongjin worms his way closer to a desperate Yang looking for an escape out of the wreckage. Ma brings up the topic of Yang's death, something that has been gnawing at his mind this whole time. Boss Ma swiftly buries a hatchet into Yang's neck. With Yang dead, Ma has accomplished his mission. He breaks into laughter. It's over. No, wait. One of Yang's men lives. He sneaks up on Ma and slashes Boss Ma's back. Ma retaliates by putting the low-level soldier in a chokehold. He stops. Ma releases his hold and breaks into laughter, combined with a strange dance. The heavy blood loss may be the cause of Brother Ma's hysteria. The soldier sees an opportunity and deals the final blow that puts Ma Yongjin down for good. Ma Yongjin, aka Brother Ma, aka Boss Ma, left his mark on Shanghai. Picture a sad conclusion to a tragic story as Boss Ma's men kill the last of Yang's men. The chaotic killings trigger a frantic exodus as people scramble into the train out of town.